Stop writing characters. Seriously. If you sit down to write and you want to create a character and you do that by filling out lists of traits like hair color, favorite food, backstory, tragic backstory, you're already making one of the biggest mistakes in fiction because good characters are not just a collection of traits. I think we've all read books or watched movies, TV shows, where the characters feel like a collection of traits, of tropes, even. A walking, strong female lead, or the brooding anti hero. They have the traits, but they don't have any soul. They feel like characters, not characters who feel like people. So, how do you bridge that gap? How do you move past the sketch and create someone who breathes, a character that feels like they exist even when the book has been closed? Why is it that we sometimes feel more connected to fictional people than to actual people? Today, in this video, I would like to explore ways to fix your character creation process, and you can start by throwing away the character sheet. Now, in my case, I've been interested in the topic of storytelling, story theory for a very long time. I started telling myself stories as a kid to help myself fall asleep, and then I struggled with actually telling stories, writing stories for a long time. Got into using AI tools a couple of years ago in order to kind of shore up my weaknesses, which helped me to publish, finally self-publish, but publish nonetheless. And one of the things I've learned over the years is that one of the biggest secrets to getting people to keep reading, it isn't just the plot, it's really the characters that drive the plot. And in order to have good characters, they need to not feel like characters. I think the biggest trap that a lot of people fall into is backstory. Thinking that backstory equals depth. The problem is that you can give a character a 10-page history, traumatic history, but if they don't have any perspective, if they don't have any connection to what is happening right in front of them, they feel more like a character, a statue with a bunch of notes pinned to them. People are not a list of facts, of events in their lives. Those things create who they are in small ways, but that isn't all of who they are. People often are messy. They have contradictions. They have facets and masks they wear. Who somebody is at work is going to be different from who they are when they're with their parents, which is different from how they are around people they're attracted to. And often, we all have a version of ourselves that kind of comes out only when we're all alone. If your character is brave 100% of the time, they stop feeling like a person and feel like a character. Which isn't to say that there aren't real people that come across that way. Teddy Roosevelt infamously, or famously, I should say, was, bully, gung-ho, all the time. But he was a very sickly child, and he overcame that. He experienced some horrific moments of grief in his life. His young wife and his mother died on the same day, leaving him a single father. And he went through a pretty rough time, but he came through it. But we remember Teddy Roosevelt as being the guy who ran up the hill, charged up the hill, went on great Amazon adventures and did all these things. But he was still a person, even though he was a larger than life person. Most people aren't like that. Some are, most aren't. But even if you want to create someone who feels larger than life, you still have to give them humanity. Now, before we continue, I want to hear from you in the comments. I want to hear one character from a book, a movie, a game, TV series that really felt like a real living person to you. Not just someone that you liked as a character, in fiction, but a character that really felt real. Actually almost felt like someone that you got to know. Tell me who it is and why in the comments. So, earlier I asked the question about how you breathe life into something that's just coming from your imagination. There are different ways to do it, but I think the best two are to give them internal conflicts and yearning. They need to have goals. They need motivation. If you have a good personality and a strong motivation and some kind of conflict inside them, you're well on your way to creating an interesting, good character. A character who just wants to save the world because the plot says so is not coming across as a person. However, a character that feels like a person is someone who wants to save the world, but is terrified they're going to die alone. Or maybe they even secretly wonder if the world is worth saving. To turn a character into a character that feels like a person, look for contradictions. Give them internal conflicts. A priest who doesn't really believe in a god. The soldier who is kind of a coward but values the loyalty of their own loyalty and their comrades' loyalty above everything else, including their own life, and is going to push through their cowardice because of that. A thief who may be a despicable individual the rest of the time, but is incredibly honest with those they call friend. When you give a character needs, motivations, goals, desires that conflict with the fear that they have, you start to create friction. And that friction is kind of where humanity comes from. So what you need to do is stop thinking of characters in terms of collections of traits and a backstory. What you should do is stop and ask yourself questions about your characters like this. What is the one thing that this person is most afraid of someone else finding out? That is where you start getting into the realm of actual feeling of a character that feels like a person. So, to kind of wrap things up, I'll say that in my view, my experience, if you can stop writing characters and make characters that feel like people, your readers will want to find out what happens to them. They will connect to them. And if you're struggling with that, I have created resources that might help you out. Links in the description. A lot of it is based around using AI tools in order to help flesh your characters out more. But if that is something that you struggle with, AI can help you. You take what you want, discard the rest, as always with using AI for brainstorming. So I'll finish with this one thought. Stop building puppets. Start building people. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.